What's happening, football fans, and welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. Today we're going to be talking about Chelsea Football Club, and more specifically, loanees. So it does look like Frank Lampard will be appointed the Chelsea manager, and with this current transfer embargo, he's going to need to do his best to utilise the loan army. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about 4 players that I think could be utilised or even start for Chelsea next season. The 4 players I have chosen and will be talking about are Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount, Reece James and Kurt Zouma. Decent selection there. So I will be looking at each player a little bit more closely and talking about some of their statistics from last season. But before we get into that, let's just have a few words on each player. Tammy Abraham. So Tammy Abraham has enjoyed 2 successful loan spells down in the Championship and has scored over 50 senior career league goals, which is pretty impressive considering he's only 21. I know the level isn't as high as, say, the Premier League, but the Championship is difficult, and for him to show that he can score goals with the physicality of the opposition defenders in the Championship, that's impressive. Tammy also has a burning desire to play for Chelsea and has been with the club since he was a very little kid, so that's something the club lacks at the moment, that sort of ambition for the badge, for the shirt. And with Chelsea's current striker issues, Tammy Abraham certainly would be an excellent loan recall. Mason Mount. Okay, so if Frank Lampard's coming back to Chelsea, so should Mason Mount. Last season, Chelsea's midfield was incredibly lacking in terms of offensive output, whether it be goals, assists, or I guess even chances created. Sure, Ruben Loftus-Cheek came in and filled that gap, but he has a long-term injury and Mason Mount would be the perfect person to come in and fill that void. Mount has modelled his game on Frank Lampard, so the fact how he's been coaching him last season kind of seemed like a perfect marriage there, and why not continue that at a higher level with better players around him at Chelsea Football Club? Mount's an easy one for me. Reece James. Reece James enjoyed an incredibly successful loan spell at Wigan last season, playing at right back. James won multiple Player of the Month awards and actually ended up being the Player of the Season as well. In fact, Wigan even moved him into midfield in the latter part of the season to fully utilise his ability to help them stay in the division. Oh yeah, and they even gave him the captaincy for a game at the end of the season as a mark of respect. Remember, we're talking about a teenage fullback loanee. That is incredibly impressive from the young Englishman. Kurt Zouma. After a horrible injury a couple of years ago, it looks like Kurt Zouma has finally found his feet again and he's looking like a top tier level defender. He was great for Everton last season and now he's starting for the world champions France and scoring goals for them apparently. Harry Maguire has recently been touted around for the price of £80 million if Manchester United or Manchester City want to buy them. But if you look at Maguire's performances and Kurt Zouma, they both start for their country, although arguably some might say Maguire should not be starting for England, and they both have decent Premier League experience. So if the papers or clubs want to insinuate Maguire's worth 80 million, maybe because he's English, Zouma's certainly got to be worth north of 50 million, so that's a valuable asset and a good player that should be recalled to Chelsea and maybe even start. Alright then, let's take a look at the numbers. Tammy Abraham. Last season for Aston Villa, Tammy scored 26 goals and got 3 assists. These 29 goal involvements works out at a goal contribution every 118 minutes. Now I know it's at a different level, but if you compare that to Arsenal's Alexandre Lacazette last season, it actually betters that ratio. And yes, to reiterate, it is at a different level, but Tammy has not yet been tested in the Premier League in a top tier creative side like a Chelsea or an Arsenal. Maybe he could convert a lot too. Regardless, a very impressive return for young Tammy Abraham last season. Tammy also wins over 3 aerial duels per game, showing his dominance in the air. He's won 5 Man of the Match awards for Aston Villa last season, and he has a Who Scored rating of 7.31, which is incredibly impressive and shows how important he was for Aston Villa last season and them getting promoted. Chelsea are missing that sort of fox in the box sniffer, poacher if you will, and Tammy Abraham will absolutely be that for Chelsea. Mason Mount. Mount contributed a very impressive 9 goals and 4 assists from central midfield last season for Derby. Well, maybe number 10 central midfield, but regardless, an impressive offensive output. And you would probably imagine this offensive output would only increase with better players around him, or certainly a better system, better team, something like Chelsea could offer. Mount also executes 2 key passes per game, as well as taking 2.5 shots per game, so it shows he's keen, he's ambitious, he wants to get involved, and he wants to score goals. With Ruben Loftus-Cheek's long-term injury, Mount has to come in and fill that void for a creative and offensive central midfielder. He can definitely do the business for Chelsea next season, and especially if he continues to be coached by Super Frankie Lampard. Reece James, Wigan's player of the season, managed to score 3 goals and get 3 assists from the fullback position last season. But you know what? He was putting in so many perfect crosses. If it weren't for poor finishing, Reece should probably have closer to double figures in assists. Reece is defensively sound, making 3 tackles and interceptions per game, but still managing to execute 1.6 key passes per game. This kid's the whole package, defensively and offensively. Oh yeah, and generally, opposition players tend to bounce off him due to his physicality. He's fast, technical, and strong. He is built for the Premier League. A modern, dynamic fullback. Kurt Zouma. Kurt contributed 2 goals and 2 assists from the centre-back position for Everton last season, which is pretty decent for a centre-back. Zouma is a very technical footballer and boasts an impressive 84% pass accuracy from the centre-back position. But Kurt is absolutely no problem with going old school centre back, as he makes 3.8 clearances per game. He will do no nonsense defending. He also has a very strong aerial presence, and he wins 3.1 aerial duels per game. Zouma now has a lot of Premier League experience, and he certainly benefited from playing next to John Terry for a while, because he has that sort of fearlessness in terms of putting his face where it hurts and no nonsense defending. But he is like a modern centre-back in terms of his technical ability on the ball, and he's very fast. He can maraud through midfield, and is an excellent centre-back generally. Chelsea would be silly not to consider Kurt Zouma for even a starting position next season. Alright, that's enough of the numbers. Alright guys, so there it is. They're the 4 players that I think Frank Lampard and Chelsea should be considering for the first team next season. And you know what? Maybe even starting. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you think I've got some of these players wrong, or you think I should have said some other players. Let me hear your thoughts, and if you've enjoyed the content, please like the video, and if you're new to the channel, why not subscribe and press the bell notification button so you can actually see my new videos when I upload them. Alright guys, that's it from me. Enjoy the football, and I will see you later.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me baby.